Gen 3 Pokemon for me is the peak of the Pokemon video game series. It came out when I was in mid-elementary school, so I was at the prime age to get hooked on it and experience the world of Pokemon. It is probably even a foundational piece of why I started making art in the first place. As a kid, I remember drawing Pokemon on scrap pieces of my mom's work papers, among other things. And this is back when people used to do work on paper instead of computers. Yeah, I'm that old. This is an art channel, so you're probably wondering why I'm talking about Pokemon. Well, because there's an excuse to draw some freaking Pokemon, duh! So I started playing Pokemon Omega Ruby, which I know is not technically Gen 3, but it's like a remake of Gen 3. You know what I'm trying to say. But I recently got this handheld emulator and loaded Omega Ruby onto it. I just finished playing the ROM hack Emerald Sea Glass about like a month ago. Which is basically Pokemon Emerald with the look of Gen 2, if you haven't heard of it. It's super cool, and for whatever reason, I just decided to do the whole journey again, but in high def on the 3DS emulator, 6 times upscaled. Why? I don't know. I probably have ADHD. I'm just at the start of the game right now. I just beat Brawly with my Shroomish and Ralts. And I got Mr. Brandy's Wingull back just before that, and I'm about to leave off to Slateport. All that aside, I thought it'd be fun to draw my planned team, just because, you know, I haven't caught all these Pokemon yet, but this is kind of like the team I'm going for here. I honestly don't know if I'm even going to finish the playthrough. I just wanted an excuse to draw some Pokemon. And really with this little illustration, I want to try a more unique kind of wide or landscape layout and almost do like a spread like I've done for some D&D parties in the past. But I kind of want to do the same thing for Omega Ruby. But I really love drawing Pokemon. Their shape language is so simple, and it's actually like super relaxing to draw them because they are kind of like, they're just basically like basic shapes. If you look at them, a lot of like circles and kind of like pear shapes, things like that. And I'm typically used to drawing more like humanoid or human figures. So doing something like this, which is really just like essentially a bunch of like blobby characters, is kind of relaxing and easy on the brain. Without further ado, we're going to go ahead and switch to some live commentary of my thought process that I had while drawing this. So at this point in the video, you've seen me pretty much sketch out this drawing, and now we're kind of moving on to inking. I've been really enjoying fountain pen inking lately, which I did quite a bit in the past, but I've moved away from a flex nib fountain pen, which is what I used a lot in my previous drawings, and I've gone with just a kind of, I guess, solid nib fountain pen. This one's a fine nib. It is a Pilot Pereira, I think is how you pronounce it. Yeah, it is a Pilot Pereira fountain pen. You can get them on Jet Pens, or I think you can actually get them on Amazon too. But they're super good. They're like a nice mid-range pen. They have pretty good ink flow, and I have some platinum carbon ink in there. But like I said, a lot of these Pokemon, and really Pokemon in general, other than some of the legendaries, are pretty basic shapes. I think the only ones that aren't fairly basic is something like Giratina with all of like the kind of like ring shapes around its neck. But most of them are kind of just like a circular body with tubes coming off of them. I guess that's like most organic shaped things, now that I'm saying that. But Pokemon are like super simplified. So if you're kind of someone who's trying to learn shapes, you know, just starting out, Pokemon are actually a really great place to start if you want to draw something fun, and not just do a bunch of studies of circles and blobs and stuff, because it's kind of how I'd learned shape language, at least a little bit in the very beginnings. But yeah, we have Swampert, which is my starter, Breloom, and Magnezone is one that I'm trying to catch. We have Altaria there in the back, Gardevoir on the left, and then our Maldo in the very back, which I gotta find that fossil. I believe you get to pick in Gen 3 which fossil you get. I think, you know, I don't think they're version specific. I could be totally remembering that wrong, so forgive me, those of you that are super hardcore Pokemon fans. I should know that because I've been playing Pokemon games since Gen 1. Again, I'm super old. I should know that, but it's slipping my mind, at least right now at the recording of this video, so don't hate me, sorry. But anyway, this is super fun to draw. Like I said, very simple shapes. I made Swampert's head a little skinny, and really I think I also made this drawing as a whole a little bit too small, as I feel like I should have made it a little bit bigger. Some of the ink, I think, spread a little bit in an undesirable way in a couple spots. It's probably something really only I'm noticing. But yeah, I think I should have just scaled this up a little bit when I was drawing it, but I have a tendency to draw too small. It's one of my my flaws, at least when I'm drawing traditionally. And I enjoy drawing small too. But I need to be better about doing like bigger scale drawings. I think I get that from doing like comic panels and stuff, but I digress. Now we're moving to colors. I colored this with Copic markers. I still cannot pronounce Copic. Probably, I think it's Copic, right? I want to say Copic or like Copic for some reason. I don't know. I'm weird. Anyway, I color those markers, alcohol markers. I've really been, as the kids say, vibing, I suppose, with markers just because they're so fast, right? I was trying watercolor there for a little while, but I really enjoy markers, especially the alcohol ones. They kind of give that watercolor effect, and they just dry super fast. You don't have to wait hardly at all, really just for the ink to dry so it doesn't, move the ink around and bleed. I really want to get a proper set. I really have a pretty small set of markers right now. I only have, I think, like 24 or 36 colors. It's like the starter pack of Copics I got way back when I first started, or not really first started, but a few years into learning to draw, when I discovered Copics were a thing. But they're super cool. If you don't have these, they're Copic Chows. They're not like the full-scale Copics, which are super expensive. The Copic Chows are still pretty expensive, but they're great markers, and they're not anywhere near as expensive as the full-sized Copics, and they are still refillable. There's also the Ohuhus, which I've been wanting to try as well. But yeah, super simple color, very easy, very quick. And I went back in and did some highlights with a white gel pen as well. And then at the end here, you can see I'm signing it. Very fun drawing. Hopefully I didn't talk too quickly. I'm kind of getting back in the swing of this whole YouTube thing. Hope you enjoyed this little video on Pokemon. Super fun to draw, like I said multiple times. Thanks for hanging, thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff, and I'll see you later.